Sup, dude? With a career three-point percentage of 45.4%, Steve Kerr is the most accurate long-range shooter in NBA history. He is also the worst baby namer ever. He named his son Nick, full name being Nick Kerr. Don't say it too fast if you aren't black, you'll commit a hate crime. It's one of those names that dudes back in high school would use in Kahoot, except a lot worse than Hugh Janus or Bend Over. There's no way Steve and his wife put any thought into any other names. It's like Nick was their only option. All they had to do was say Nick and then Kerr out loud and they would have realized they were naming their kid the hard R. I really don't think Steve is racist, but maybe the time he spent with Michael Jordan influenced his decision. Mike wasn't the nicest teammate, and there was that one time he punched Steve in the face, so maybe he named his son Nick out of spite. Who knows? Whatever the case may be, as of today, Nick is 32 and an assistant coach for the Warriors G League team, so life's great for him, but I'm sure being in middle and high school during the early 2000s with that name was hell. Every day was probably like a Black Ops 2 lobby. Now, you'd think a guy with one of the highest basketball IQs ever would put a little more thought into something as basic as naming his son, but hey, at least when it came to shooting the rock, he rarely missed. You know who did miss though? The Phoenix Suns. They drafted Steve with the 50th pick in the 1988 NBA draft after the scrawny honky drilled 57% of his threes during his senior year of college. However, after he played in just 26 games as a rookie, they traded him to Cleveland in exchange for a second-round pick. At the time, it probably didn't seem like a big deal. Kerr was a frail guard who barely played, and the Suns already had a loaded backcourt with Kevin Johnson, Jeff Hornacek, and Dan Marley. But in hindsight, Phoenix fumbled. They gave away a lethal sniper in exchange for a bag of chips. It's kinda like when the United States traded the Merchant of Death in exchange for Brittany Griner. As a Cleveland Cavalier, Kerr got down to business right away. Homie was straight jorking it from deep and ended up leading the league in three-point percentage, shooting just over 50% from behind the arc. While in today's NBA, that kind of accuracy would be rewarded with hundreds of millions of dollars, back then it got him a pat on the back. That's because the three-pointer wasn't yet understood. So rather than getting more opportunities from long range, over the next few years his production kinda stagnated. The dude was coming off the bench playing around 15 to 20 minutes a night and only attempting 1 to 2 threes. If they would have let bro pull 10 a night, homie could have been an all-star. As a result of his low usage, he was known as a role player, but that didn't stop him from letting his nuts hang when he had the chance. Dude was the ultimate specialist, always making the most of his limited minutes, and he quickly became one of the most respected shooters in the league. Eventually the light bulb went off for other teams, one of those teams being the Chicago Bulls. Lucky for them, in 1993 his contract with Cleveland was up, so all they had to do to get him was offer him a one-year, $150,000 non-guaranteed minimum deal. After Kerr put his John Hancock on that, the rest was history. With Chicago, Kerr became one of the greatest glue guys ever. He wasn't the flashiest player, but he was the definition of a dude who knew exactly what his role was and he owned it. With Michael Jordan running the show, the Bulls needed a sharpshooter to space the floor and knock down those big-time shots when the defense collapsed. It just so happened Kerr was the perfect guy for the job. He didn't need the ball always in his hands to make an impact. He just needed it in the right spot at the right time. That's why, despite not being a star, his presence was huge for those championship Bulls teams. He'd be out there running around, sprinting off screens, always ready to catch and let it fly. And boy, when he got the ball, it was money. Just a beautiful stroke. None of that crazy off the dribble stuff, just get open and sling that fucker. And sling that fucker he did, turning him into a vital part of the Bulls' second three-peat. Fast forward to the 1997 NBA Finals, the Bulls are up 3-2 against the Utah Jazz. It's Game 6 and they had a chance to clinch the title. Chicago's struggling a bit, but Jordan is still doing Jordan things. Then in the final moments of the game, MJ, feeling a bit more generous than usual, passes the ball to his favorite cracker with the shot clock winding down. Kerr, cooler than a polar bear's toenail, buries a three-pointer with just a few seconds left, which put the Bulls up by 1 and essentially won them the championship. That one shot solidified his legacy as a clutch performer and also gave us a perfect snapshot of his career. Always ready, never afraid of the moment, and on point when his team needed him. He was like the best possible version of a role player. No drama, no ego, just an insane work ethic and a knack for coming through when it counted. It also helped that he was playing with arguably the greatest basketball player to ever live. During his time with Chicago, Kerr won 3 championships. Then after that dynasty fell apart, he went on to play for the Spurs where he won 2 more titles. Then as everyone knows, once he was done playing, he went on to coach, becoming one of the greatest coaches ever, adding 4 more rings to his collection. His journey was a bit of a slow burn, but man, did it pay off in the end. From a 50th pick to 9 championships, he went from being an underappreciated bench player to one of the most respected guys in the game. His career arc is a reminder that sometimes it's not about being the flashiest or the most athletic. It's about doing what you do best, knowing your role, and executing when the lights shine brightest. And Kerr, man, he absolutely did that. On the opposite end of that spectrum, there's Russell Westbrook. His playstyle and career was like a roller coaster with no brakes. You can click here to watch the video I made on him. As always, big thank you to the Goobers, Aaron Stark, Sheesh, Madzio2, Nolan Fincher, Bray Thompson, Quinn Murphy, HTL, and Tippy Lou. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye, dude.